The notification from my Find My Phone app glowed on my screen like a neon sign screaming betrayal. Sarah's location pin sat squarely on the Marriott downtown, not at the marketing firm where she told me she'd be pulling another late night. My hands shook as I zoomed in, hoping the GPS was wrong, that maybe she was at a client dinner nearby. But no, the pin was dead center on the hotel. 3 years of marriage, and I thought I knew everything about my wife. We'd met at Northwestern, bonded over deep dish pizza debates and Cubs games. Sarah was the girl who cried during Pixar movies and left little notes in my lunch. She was supposed to be my forever person, the one who'd help me prove to my overbearing mother that I'd finally gotten my life together. But sitting in our Lincoln Park apartment at 11 p.m., staring at that damning location pin, I realized how spectacularly wrong I'd been. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd installed the family tracking app for safety after a string of muggings in our neighborhood. Now it was about to blow up everything I thought I knew about my life. What happened next would turn our upcoming family Thanksgiving from an awkward dinner into the most explosive confrontation the Kowalski family had ever witnessed. My Polish grandmother always said the truth has a way of serving itself, usually at the worst possible moment. She had no idea how right she was. The secret I was about to uncover wouldn't just destroy my marriage, it would rewrite the entire story of who I thought I was, and force me to choose between the family that raised me and the brutal truth that would set me free. Growing up in a Polish-American household on Chicago's northwest side meant living under the watchful eye of my mother, Barbara Kowalski, a woman who could guilt-trip you into confession faster than any priest at St. Hyacinth. My father, Stan, worked double shifts at the Ford plant in Hegewisch and left the family management to Mom. She ran our household like a general commanding troops, complete with expectations that felt impossible to meet. The Kowalski family gatherings were legendary in our neighborhood. Every holiday, our Portage Park bungalow would overflow with pierogi, kielbasa, and enough family drama to fuel a soap opera. Mom presided over these events like a queen holding court, making sure everyone knew their place in the family hierarchy. And my place? Dead last. My older brother Tommy was the golden child, star quarterback at St. Patrick High School, full ride to DePaul, now a successful contractor with 3 kids and a house in Schaumburg. Then came my sister Monica, the beauty queen who married a doctor and moved to Naperville. And finally, there was me, Michael, the family disappointment who couldn't seem to get anything right. I'll never forget the Thanksgiving when I was 16. I'd been working part-time at Kowalski, saving up for a car, proud of my independence. When Mom asked what I was thankful for, I mentioned my job and how good it felt to earn my own money. She laughed, actually laughed, and announced to the entire table that I was grateful for bagging groceries because that's probably all I'd ever amount to. 20 relatives chuckled along while I sat there, face burning with shame, wanting to disappear into the linoleum. Another time, during my high school graduation party, she introduced me to neighbors as my youngest, the one who's going to community college. The way she emphasized community made it sound like I was heading to prison instead of pursuing an associate's degree in computer programming. When Mrs. Nowak from next door tried to congratulate me, Mom quickly redirected the conversation to Tommy's latest promotion. These moments carved deep wounds that never quite healed. No matter what I accomplished, graduating with honors, landing a decent IT job, marrying Sarah, it was never enough to earn Mom's approval or change her perception of me as the family screw-up. Which is why meeting Sarah felt like salvation. Here was this brilliant, beautiful woman who saw something in me that my own family couldn't. When I brought her to Sunday dinner at Mom's house, I watched my mother's eyes light up for the first time when looking at something connected to me. Sarah was educated, articulate, from a good family in Lake Forest. She was my ticket to respectability, proof that maybe I wasn't the failure Mom had always believed me to be. Our wedding was Mom's chance to show off to the Polish community. She spent months planning, inviting everyone from St. Hyacinth Parish, booking the Knights of Columbus Hall, hiring the best polka band in Chicagoland. For once, I was the son she was proud to claim. That's what made the hotel revelations so devastating. Sarah wasn't just my wife. She was my shield against a lifetime of family humiliation. Losing her meant losing the only thing that had ever made me worthy in my mother's eyes. But there was something else, something I'd kept buried for months. A secret that would make this betrayal infinitely more complicated. Something I'd discovered accidentally while helping Sarah organize her home office, bank statements showing payments to a private investigator. At first, I'd convinced myself it was for work, maybe background checks for her marketing clients. But the timing nagged at me, starting right after we'd gotten married. Tonight, staring at that hotel location pin, all those puzzle pieces were finally clicking together in ways I didn't want to acknowledge. Comment below and let me know where you're watching this from. I'd love to hear from fellow Chicagoans who know exactly what Polish family dynamics feel like, or anyone else dealing with family expectations that feel impossible to meet. Thanksgiving 2023 was supposed to be different. Sarah and I had volunteered to host at our Lincoln Park apartment for the first time, a chance to show Mom that I could handle adult responsibilities. I'd spent weeks planning the menu, ordering a heritage turkey from Whole Foods, researching wine pairings. Sarah seemed distracted but supportive, helping me polish our good china and arrange flowers. The morning of Thanksgiving, I was in full preparation mode when Sarah announced she had to run to the office. "Emergency client call," she said, kissing my cheek. "The Hartfield campaign is having a meltdown about their Black Friday ads. I'll be back before anyone arrives, I promise." I should have been suspicious. What marketing emergency happens on Thanksgiving morning? But I was too focused on proving myself to my family, making sure every detail was perfect. Mom would arrive expecting to find fault with everything. The turkey too dry, the stuffing too soggy, something wrong with how I'd set the table. This was my chance to finally show her I wasn't the screw-up she'd always believed me to be. By 2 p.m., our apartment was packed. Mom arrived first, naturally, carrying her famous pierogi and immediately beginning her inspection. She ran her finger along our dining table checking for dust, rearranged my centerpiece, and questioned why I'd bought wine instead of making homemade cranberry sauce. Tommy brought his family, his wife Jennifer perpetually scrolling through her phone while their kids tore through our place. Monica and her doctor husband arrived fashionably late, armed with expensive wine and barely concealed condescension. "Where's Sarah?" Mom asked for the third time, checking her watch. "It's rude to keep family waiting." "Work emergency," I repeated, my phone buzzing with another delayed text from Sarah. The turkey was ready, sides were warming, and my perfect Thanksgiving was starting to crack at the edges. That's when I made the mistake that changed everything. While refilling drinks, I decided to check Sarah's location, just to see how close she was, maybe text her to hurry. The Find My Phone app loaded, and there it was, the Marriott downtown. Not moving. Had been there for over 3 hours. My stomach dropped. The wine glass in my hand suddenly felt impossibly heavy. "Michael, you okay?" Monica was staring at me. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I mumbled something about checking on dinner and escaped to the kitchen, my heart pounding. There had to be an explanation. Maybe the client meeting moved to the hotel restaurant. Maybe her phone was wrong. But deep down I knew. All those late nights, the private investigator payments, the way she'd been distant lately, it all suddenly made horrifying sense. Mom appeared in the doorway. "What's wrong with you? You're acting strange, and your wife is missing our family dinner." This is exactly the kind of irresponsible behavior I expected. "She'll be here," I said weakly, but my voice cracked. "Will she? Because it seems to me like you can't even manage to keep your wife interested in your own family gathering. Just like you couldn't manage to get into a real college, or find a job that amounts to anything, or, Mom, stop." Tommy appeared behind her, sensing tension. But she was on a roll now, 3 glasses of wine amplifying her favorite subject, my failures. "I'm just saying, maybe if you'd applied yourself more, been more of a man, your wife wouldn't be prioritizing work over family on Thanksgiving. A woman needs a husband she can respect, Michael. Someone with ambition, with drive." The room had gone quiet. Jennifer stopped scrolling. Monica's husband pretended to study our bookshelf. The kids sensed adult drama brewing and huddled by the TV. My phone buzzed. Sarah, texting. "So sorry baby, this is taking longer than expected. Start without me, I'll be there soon. I stared at the message, knowing she was lying, knowing she was at that hotel while my mother eviscerated me in front of our entire family. The familiar shame washed over me, the same feeling I'd carried since childhood, the certainty that I wasn't enough, would never be enough. But this time felt different. This time, the shame was mixed with rage. "You know what, Mom?" I said quietly, too quietly. "You're right. Maybe I haven't been man enough. Maybe I've been too trusting, too naive. But I'm about to fix that." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Mom's eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" I looked around at my family, these people who'd spent decades making me feel small, who'd never believed in me, who'd accepted Sarah so readily because she made me seem legitimate. They had no idea what was coming. "It means," I said, my voice gaining strength, "that some secrets are about to come out. And when they do, you might want to reconsider who the real disappointment in this family is." If you're enjoying this story and want to see how this family drama explodes, please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. Your support helps us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. The silence that followed was deafening. Mom's face had gone pale, but her jaw was set in that familiar stubborn line that meant she was preparing for battle. Tommy stepped closer, his contractor instincts sensing structural damage about to happen. "Michael, what are you talking about?" Monica's voice was sharp, her lawyer training kicking in. "What secrets?" I pulled out my phone, the Find My Phone app still glowing with Sarah's location at the Marriott. My hands were steadier now, fueled by years of accumulated rage and the crystal-clear betrayal staring me in the face. "You want to know where my wonderful wife is right now? The one you all love so much because she finally made me respectable." I turned the phone screen toward them. "She's at a hotel downtown. Has been for 3 hours. On Thanksgiving. While I'm here cooking dinner for all of you." Mom's eyes widened, but she recovered quickly. "There has to be an explanation. Sarah's a good girl, not like some of the trash you used to date. A good girl?" I laughed, and the sound that came out was bitter, foreign. "You want to hear about your precious Sarah? The one who's been paying a private investigator for months? The one who married me for reasons that have nothing to do with love?" Jennifer finally looked up from her phone. The kids had stopped playing. Everyone was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. "You're being dramatic," Mom said, but uncertainty crept into her voice. "Marriage has problems, you work through them. You don't air dirty laundry in front of family." "Dirty laundry?" The words exploded out of me. She's been investigating our family since the day we got married." The room went dead silent except for the football game playing unwatched on TV. Tommy stepped forward. "What do you mean, investigating?" I'd been carrying this weight for months, ever since I'd found those bank statements. At first, I'd told myself it was innocent, maybe background checks for work. But the amounts, the timing, the way Sarah had started asking seemingly casual questions about family history, about Dad's time at the Ford plant, about why we'd moved from our old house when I was 12. "Remember when Dad got laid off in 2008? I looked directly at Mom. "Remember how we almost lost the house, and then suddenly everything was fine? Dad found that new job, we caught up on the mortgage." Mom's face was stone. "Your father worked hard. He found opportunities. All right. Sarah's investigator found them too." My voice was gaining strength, years of suppressed truth finally demanding air. "Dad wasn't just laid off, was he, Mom? He was taking kickbacks from suppliers. Skimming money. That's why we had to move neighborhoods. That's why you made us change parishes. That's why Dad could never look Mr. Kowalski from the old block in the eye anymore." Tommy's face went white. Monica's husband suddenly found his wine very interesting. But Mom's expression didn't change, which told me everything I needed to know. "You're talking nonsense," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Am I?" "Because Sarah's been building a case. Banking records, interviews with Dad's old coworkers, even photos of the house we lost. She married me to get close to this family, to get information that her real employers needed." "Her real employers?" Monica's lawyer instincts were fully engaged now. I pulled up another app on my phone, the photos I'd secretly taken of Sarah's hidden files months ago, insurance for a conversation I'd been dreading. Remember the Kowalski construction scandal? The one that made all the papers last year? Faulty materials in low-income housing projects. I looked at Tommy. Same suppliers Dad was taking money from. Sarah works for the law firm representing the victims. She's been gathering evidence of a corruption network that goes back decades. The color drained from Tommy's face. His construction company had used some of those same suppliers. The family connections were becoming clear. Mom finally found her voice, but it came out as a whisper. That's impossible. Sarah loves you. She chose our family. She chose our family because we were targets, Mom. Every Sunday dinner, every holiday gathering, she was collecting information. Names, dates, stories about Dad's work, about Tommy's business connections. She played the perfect daughter-in-law while building a case that could send people to prison. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. Everyone was looking at everyone else, years of family mythology crashing down around us. The golden family image Mom had worked so hard to build was disintegrating in real time. Tommy finally spoke. If this is true, if Dad was really involved in that supplier scheme, it means the house you bought, the business you started, the life we've all been living, it's built on stolen money. I finished for him. Money stolen from families who ended up with houses that are literally falling down around them. Mom's careful composure finally cracked. Even if any of this were true, you don't destroy your own family. You don't betray blood for some woman who's been lying to you. Don't I? I stood up, suddenly feeling taller than I had in years. Because you've been lying to me my whole life. Making me feel like I was the family failure while protecting the real criminals. At least Sarah's betrayal was professional. Yours was personal. I grabbed my coat from the hall closet, my hands shaking but my voice steady. Dinner's ready. The turkey's perfect, the stuffing's not soggy, and for once, everything's exactly the way you wanted it. Except your screw-up son isn't staying to be grateful for the privilege of your disappointment. I headed for the door, leaving behind the chaos of voices starting to rise, accusations beginning to fly, and the family gathering that was about to become the reckoning Mom had spent decades trying to avoid. Behind me, I heard Tommy asking, "Mom, is what Michael said true about Dad?" And Monica demanding, "What exactly did you know and when did you know it?" But I was already gone, walking out into the Chicago cold, finally free from the weight of being the family disappointment. Because sometimes the biggest failure is staying loyal to people who never deserved your loyalty in the first place. The aftermath hit like a Chicago blizzard, sudden, brutal, and impossible to ignore. Within hours of walking out, my phone exploded with calls and texts. Tommy first, his voice tight with panic. "We need to talk. Now." Monica followed with lawyerly precision. "Do not speak to anyone until we figure out what Sarah actually has." Even Jennifer, who'd never said more than small talk to me in 10 years, sent a worried emoji. Mom, predictably, called to blame me for destroying Thanksgiving and probably Christmas too. But the call I'd been dreading came at 2 a.m. Sarah, her voice thick with what sounded like genuine tears. "Michael, please. I can explain everything. It's not what you think." "You mean you're not at the Marriott building a case against my family?" The pause told me everything. "How did you find my phone?" Ironic, right? The app one installed to keep you safe exposed how unsafe you actually were for me. When we finally met the next day at a Starbucks in Lincoln Park, neutral ground, public place, Sarah looked genuinely devastated. Her usual polished appearance was replaced with dark circles and yesterday's clothes. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. "I never meant for it to go this far," she began, clutching a coffee she wasn't drinking. "When the firm first asked me to get close to your family, it was supposed to be simple background research. Your dad's name came up in supplier records, and they needed someone on the inside to verify connections. So you married me for access." "No." Her voice broke. "God, Michael, no. I married you because somewhere along the way, this stopped being an assignment and started being real. I fell in love with you, with us, with the idea of actually belonging to a family that wasn't cold and transactional like mine. The Lake Forest family she described as perfect apparently existed only in careful PR. Her father was a corporate lawyer whose idea of family bonding was quarterly performance reviews. Her mother measured affection in social media appearances and charity gala photos. The Polish Sunday dinners, your grandmother's pierogi recipe, even your mom's criticism, it felt more real than anything I'd grown up with. You have no idea what it's like to fake warmth your entire childhood. But the professional damage was already done. Sarah's investigation had uncovered a network that stretched beyond our family. My father hadn't been a mastermind. He'd been a desperate man who took small payments to look the other way while suppliers cut corners on materials. When the housing projects started failing, people got hurt. Families lost their homes. Some got sick from toxic materials. Tommy's construction company had unknowingly used the same compromised suppliers. He wasn't criminally involved, but the civil lawsuits would likely destroy his business. The ripple effects were spreading through the Polish community on the northwest side, other construction workers, other families who'd taken small kickbacks during desperate times. Within a week, the Chicago Tribune ran a story. Housing scandal reaches deep into northwest side community. Our family name was buried in the middle paragraphs, but our neighbors would know. The Hyacinth. People would whisper during coffee hour about the Kowalski family's fall from grace. The grand irony wasn't lost on me. For years, Mom had worried about my failures embarrassing the family. Now the real embarrassment was coming from the successful members she'd always protected and promoted. Tommy called me 3 days after Thanksgiving, his voice hollow. Mom knew Michael. She's known for 15 years. When Dad got that new job, when we suddenly had money again, she knew where it came from. The conversation that followed revealed layers of family mythology I'd never suspected. Dad's drinking problem in the late 2000s hadn't been about job stress, it was guilt. The reason we'd moved parishes wasn't for a better school district, it was to escape neighbors who'd started asking questions. Mom's obsessive focus on family reputation wasn't pride, it was damage control. She let me think I was building something legitimate, Tommy continued. My whole business, my kids' college funds, the house in Schaumburg, it's all connected to dirty money. But perhaps the most unexpected revelation came from Monica. When I finally answered her calls, she wasn't angry about the family exposure. She was relieved. I've been carrying this secret for years, she admitted. Why do you think I moved to Naperville, married a doctor, kept our kids away from family gatherings as much as possible? I found out about Dad when I was in law school. Mom made me promise to keep quiet, said it would destroy everyone. The sister I'd always seen as the golden child had actually been the family secret keeper, carrying guilt that wasn't hers to bear. As for Sarah, the law firm removed her from the case due to conflicted interests, legal speak for falling in love with your target. She moved back to Lake Forest while divorce papers made their slow journey through Cook County's legal system. Our last conversation was surprisingly peaceful. I hope you understand that I never wanted to hurt you, she said. I hope you understand that intention doesn't erase impact, I replied. The unexpected twist came 6 months later. The city of Chicago, facing massive lawsuits from the housing scandal, offered a whistleblower settlement to families who provided information about the supplier corruption. Dad, now sober and facing the truth of his choices, decided to cooperate fully with investigators. The settlement money, enough to cover legal fees and help affected families, came with a requirement that Dad testify against the suppliers who'd orchestrated the scheme. After years of carrying shame in silence, he finally had a chance to make amends. Mom's reaction was predictable. How can you humiliate the family like this? But her definition of family had become meaningless to me. My new definition of family included Tommy, who was rebuilding his business with transparent practices and ethical suppliers. It included Monica, who was using her legal skills to help other families affected by the scandal. It even included Dad, who was attending AA meetings and volunteering with Habitat for Humanity, trying to build things the right way for the first time in decades. It didn't include people who prioritized reputation over responsibility, or who measured love by silence and loyalty by complicity. 6 months after that explosive Thanksgiving, I hosted a different kind of dinner in my Lincoln Park apartment. Smaller group, Tommy's family, Monica and her kids, Dad looking healthier than he had in years. No pierogi from Mom's kitchen, but homemade pizza and genuine conversation about building something better from the ruins of what came before. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the family disappointment. I was the family truth teller. And that felt like something worth being grateful for. Looking back now, almost 2 years later, I realized that Thanksgiving wasn't the day my marriage ended, it was the day my real life began. Sometimes the most devastating betrayals become unexpected gifts, forcing you to confront truths you've been avoiding and discover strength you didn't know you had. I'm writing this from my new apartment in Wicker Park, a space that's entirely mine, filled with furniture I chose and books I actually read. The walls aren't covered with family photos showcasing a perfect life that never existed. Instead, there are pictures from my recent trip to Poland, a journey I took to understand my heritage on my own terms, not through the filtered lens of family mythology. The divorce finalized 6 months ago. Sarah and I spoke briefly at the courthouse, and she looked genuinely happy for the first time since I'd known her. Turns out, living a lie takes a toll on everyone involved. She's dating a fellow lawyer now, someone who knows her real story from the beginning. Dad's testimony helped convict 3 major suppliers and led to a $50 million settlement for affected families. He still struggles with guilt, but he's channeling it into action rather than alcohol. Last month, he taught me how to frame drywall, skills he'd learned legitimately at the Ford plant before everything went wrong. Tommy's construction company is smaller now but completely above board. He tells clients upfront about our family history, and surprisingly, most respect his honesty. Monica left her corporate law firm to work with a nonprofit that helps immigrant families navigate housing issues. She says it feels like penance and purpose combined. As for Mom, she moved to a senior community in Des Plaines and maintains that we've all destroyed the family for nothing. She still calls occasionally, usually to inform me of some neighbor's success that I should feel bad about not matching. I listen politely and hang up without apology. The most important lesson I learned is that family isn't about blood or loyalty or keeping secrets. It's about showing up for each other with honesty, even when the truth is uncomfortable. It's about choosing accountability over reputation, growth over comfort. I've started dating again. Nothing serious, but I'm learning what it feels like to be with someone who knows my real story and chooses me anyway. There's something powerful about being loved for who you actually are rather than who you pretend to be. The irony isn't lost on me that in losing the life I thought I wanted, I found the life I actually needed. I'm no longer the family disappointment because I've redefined what family means. I'm no longer carrying shame that belongs to other people. And I'm no longer measuring my worth by the approval of people who were never going to give it freely anyway. If this story resonates with you, if you've ever felt like the black sheep in a family that values image over integrity, I want you to know that walking away from toxic loyalty isn't betrayal, it's self-preservation. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is tell the truth, even when everyone around you benefits from the lie. Before you go, I want to ask you a favor. If this story meant something to you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to choose truth over comfort, authenticity over approval. Your engagement helps stories like this reach people who need them most. And leave a comment telling me about your own moment of choosing truth over family mythology. What happened when you stopped protecting other people's secrets? How did you rebuild after everything you thought you knew turned out to be wrong? Thanks for listening to my story. Remember, you can't build a genuine life on borrowed shame or inherited lies. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the courage to disappoint people who were never really on your side anyway. Until next time, this is your reminder that the truth might hurt, but living a lie hurts longer.